Faith and love starts with faith in you. Know yourself to grow yourself. And discover the DNA of love with Dr. Williams every Wednesday at 4 p.m.
Give love.
Welcome. It's the DNA of gift giving and receiving within your relationship. So, looking at the practice of giving a gift and the skill that comes with having given a gift effectively, but then also learning how to receive it with grace and doing the best you can, whether you like the gift or not, which matters, and we'll get to why that matters too. Then what to do going forward as far as maintaining that sort of standard you're setting when you give really good gifts in your relationship. It matters a lot. It matters because giving a gift it's a really beautiful way to accentuate the way you feel about somebody. Like, it shouldn't be the core. Gifts don't quantify like how you feel, and we shouldn't use a gift or a gesture as a means for marking how much I love a person or how much I'm into them. Some people do that, and I feel like it ends poorly a lot of the times. I've done it, and it's ended poorly. But it's a instead of means of highlighting and amplifying the love that's already there. So if you don't have love that's already there, no amount of money or items or gestures are going to make up for it not being present.
I've been watching a lot of those videos where it's asking am I in the wrong? Am I the bad apple for, thinking this? And it's my parents got me AirPods and I want the AirPod Pros. Now I hate them.
And sometimes you can feel bad for being picky, but the goal of even today's show is to be able to set up a framework as to how to even give gifts effectively over time, so you don't run into instances where you've made a misstep and given a gift that didn't matter, or that sounds mean. Not that it didn't matter, but it isn't necessarily what the person wanted. When I think about these kind of gifts, I think about the 10th or 11th time I've received socks for Christmas. I only have 2 feet. I don't need 300 socks. And my grandma, I'm not singling her out, but she's a culprit. She's given me socks many times, or slippers. Which, if all the dads listening, men tend to get these kind of household items a lot, and they're not bad items, but it just is context based. It's based on the person who's receiving the gift. More than anything, though, the awesome thing about gifts is that it gives you an opportunity to truly demonstrate creativity, and or time spent giving yourself to a partner in that manner adds to the investment that you're displaying to that person in a very outward form, whether how big or small, it doesn't matter. What's the most interesting or fun gift you've ever given that you can think of?
So I was actually thinking about this as you were talking. My dad, he has always loved pinball. He always used to go play pinball with his brother when they were kids. Sure. And so there was a time when I was little that we had, I want to say 4 pinball machines. And then we just financially just needed money, college for my older siblings. And so it just got to a point where my dad unfortunately sold all his pinball machines. Oh. So he was really, really sad. And then by the time I got to high school, he started recollecting pinball machines, and he's up to, I think, 7 right now.
Good for him.
But for Father's Day, I thought he always wanted to, open his own pinball arcade when he was a kid and name it after the one he went to as a kid. So then I took just a wooden board, and I took each letter and made it kind of the back glass of each pinball machine that he had with the name of his arcade. And I took actual pinball pieces and made it look like a pinball board, but it's a sign that lights up for his game room with all his pinball machines.
You put in all that work?
Yes.
What did he say when he got it?
He was a little bit in awe. He didn't even know what to expect. Sure. Because in a way, there's the little pettiness in me. It was for Father's Day and Mother's Day before all my siblings had gone on a gift, but they didn't think I had money, so they never asked me. Mm-hmm. So it was all my siblings gave my mom this amazing gift, and then it's By the way, Brooke wasn't involved.
Fair enough.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something nice for my dad. And I'm going to do something that I can do by hand. And so that's where that sign, ended up coming as, hey, I don't have money right now.
Yeah.
So this is what I can do.
And I love that story because it's not only it's a physical, tangible gift, but it's a gesture also. And it matters because even in you telling the story, I hear the passion you have for your dad. I hear how much you care about him. And that in itself, if it's palpable to me sitting across from you, then it was palpable and likely to anyone who saw the gesture and the gift in essence. And I think that it's a beautiful example of why gift giving is so important, because it amplifies the love and the sort of foundation that was already there. I mentioned off air a story that I was thinking of related to gift giving, and it's an example of what happens when that's not the case. When you have a situation where there's not really a romantic or a powerful love foundation there, and you're trying to create it with the gift. I go back to, well, I won't say the year because I don't want people listening who might be putting 1 and 2 together to pop online and research it. But let's just say I was in college and I was dating a girl, and I've mentioned her before on the air before when I was playing basketball, and dating one of my co-basketball mates. Her name is Miriam, and we were dating for some time. Things were going well, but we weren't really, I'll be honest, we weren't really in love. I liked her and she liked me too. And it was a aspect of our relationship that didn't necessarily get brought up. At the time I was young and I didn't really have the social maturity to just be true and to myself and to her, and for her to do the same to me, and look at each other and go, what are we doing here? Why are we wasting each other's time? So it was New Year's Eve, and we broke up. We actually broke up on New Year's Eve over text. It was a very long text argument. And anyone who's listening, you know what text arguments sound like. They're silent, and they're usually involving a lot of huffing and puffing and pacing around the empty apartment. At least for me, that's what it was. A lot of just, and then sending my messages, and we broke up. And the next week, it's now 2-3 days after New Year's, I think, you know what, maybe breaking up was not the best thing to do. So she was, like I said before, she was a basketball player. So when she went away on some basketball trip, her and her teammates they were playing some team up in Buffalo, New York. I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to do something romantic. So I went down. I'm in college. So I don't have a lot of money. I had maybe $27-30 to my name at the time. So I'm thinking, what can I do to show how much I love this person for $30? I got it. I'm gonna go down to CVS in Baltimore, and I'm gonna buy a heart-shaped box of Ferrero Rocher candies. It was not too far from Valentine's Day, so they're starting to sell them a little early. So I bought those, and I bought some flowers, and I bought I think I got a card. And it's cold. It's Baltimore. It's 10 degrees outside. And I'm walking in the middle of Baltimore with a a real cheese ball, with a heart-shaped Ferrero Rocher box of chocolates, a set of flowers, and a card. And I'm on a mission. So I think of the idea. I'm going to go back to campus. I'm going to ask one of the janitors who knows me as an athlete, hey, I'm dating Miriam. Can you do me a solid? Let me into their locker room. And I'm going to decorate her locker bank with chocolates and flowers and a card. So when she comes back from her trip, it's the first thing she sees, because they're going to come to their locker room and drop off all their stuff when the bus arrives. So the janitor knew me, so he actually was he shouldn't have done this, but he was cool enough to let me in the locker room. And I say this now, cringing internally, because I'm I was a guy in the women's locker room. I shouldn't have been there. But I was alone. There was no one else there. It was just me and the janitor, who was standing by the door, just kind of watching me decorate her locker bank with flowers and chocolates and her card and everything. And something hit me halfway through it, where I was like, what am I doing? I don't love this woman at all. And we broke up for a reason. And she wasn't very nice. Like, she wasn't a super kind person. She made fun of a lot of really, really, like benign things in other people, and she teased romantic gestures like this one. And I was like, I like chocolate, and I like flowers. And this card set me back about $1.50. Let me go ahead and pack all this stuff up. So the janitor, confusingly so, watched me set up all this beautiful stuff and then break it all down, and then grab the chocolate, put the flowers back in the bouquet, and then leave and carry it home. And actually, like, it was actually a cool night. I sat home, I played Call of Duty, and I ate chocolates and looked at my flowers. And the next, like, week, someone else, ironically so, broke up with one of the other females on the team, and they did that. And not necessarily flowers and candy, but they left a card in her locker bank begging for the relationship to rekindle. And then they teased him for weeks, maybe months. Like, and then they spread his name out to the lacrosse team, the soccer team. Like, they really, really shared, like, his stuff with people. They were reading his heartfelt words in front of other people, like, really going in, teasing this kid. And I sat there thinking it could have been me. And the only thing that stopped me from doing that really, really crazy and somewhat creepy thing of giving candy and flowers to someone when they were away was recognizing that there was no foundation. There was nothing there for me to build on with her. And I was wasting a gesture like that on someone who, in hindsight, didn't really deserve it or need it at the time. And that's something now that I would reserve for doing for my wife, who actually, like, loves me and, like, will not tease me for, like, being a hopeless romantic sometimes. I'm cringing as I sit here because this is the first time I've actually told that story outside of, like, my relationship. But it's valuable to reinforce that, like, gift giving matters when the context is adequate.
Mm-hmm. We're talking a little bit about just knowing, when is the things that make up a good gift, when is the right time to give that gift. And I know you want to go in a little bit about knowing your audience.
Yes. So the first step in giving a good gift is to know your audience. Have you ever watched The Office, right?
Yes.
So do you remember when Creed gave his I think a flannel shirt to Jim for Secret Santa? Like, he completely didn't know the audience. He gave him an item that took zero thought, and it was played for laughs in the show because, like, it hits on the idea that this is what a bad gift looks like. So the first step in actually, like, giving a really good gift is to know the wants, the needs, the interests of the person you're looking to give the gift to. Searching deeply too, and it requires a degree of, like, truly close listening and more so not just listening to, but intimate understanding of a person.
I think, just going off the Office reference, the whole Yankee swap episode, it shows many examples of getting the perfect gift, trying to be the overachiever, trying to do the handmade gift for maybe someone who's unappreciative.
Sure. And that truly, I'm glad, like, you said that, because it's one of those things where it hits on the idea that in that episode, like the iPod, for anyone who's hopefully most of us have watched The Office by now, it's a super popular show, and if I'm spoiling it for anyone, it's been on for almost 15 years, so good luck. But from a gift giving standpoint, when Michael Scott gave Ryan the iPod, it was the cardinal sin of gift giving is giving a gift for yourself more so than the person you're handing it to. iPods are, at least at the time, were very expensive or valuable. He wanted people to know that he cared a lot about Ryan, but bigger than that, he wanted people to understand that he's a great guy for giving gifts of this value to people who he finds to be valuable. And that is starting off on the wrong foot because he didn't know his audience, because Ryan didn't care about the iPod. And it really, really, for anyone who saw the show, like, ruined the party. But Jim's gift was really, really valuable. I don't like Jim and Pam as a couple. I think they are the epitome of what a toxic relationship looks like over the span of 9 seasons. That's just my personal opinion. But he gave her a gift, at least in that episode, that was truly everything we're talking about. He knew her wants. He knew the kinds of things she was interested in. He knew her needs that she was missing from a relationship. And I won't get into the toxicity of pursuing a woman who's with Roy, because obviously, there's some problems with that. But he knew that she was missing emotional connection and or thoughtfulness. And that in itself was incredibly valuable. And honestly, he knew the biggest component of it all is the things that she would get excited over. He knew that certain things in that teapot, and he gave her, for anyone who didn't see the show, he gave her a teapot full of bonus gifts where little things like a pencil from their first day of work, or a wrapper of gum from the first time he ever talked to her, or a yogurt lid from their office Olympics, things that were valuable to him and her that he knew would make her smile. That took days, if not weeks, if not months of planning. It took effort and dedication to knowing a person intimately and then desiring enough to actually put it all together and giving it to her effectively. That in itself is a commitment.
Now, one of our listeners just reached out to me and wanted to also bring up the fact about Dwight and Angela, with Angela getting Dwight the Dwight bobblehead.
Yes. And that was a beautiful gift. And do you know what he gave her?
What?
A key. To his house.
Yeah.
Yes, which a key in itself means not really much of anything. A key is it's a utilitarian. It gets you from point A to point B through a lock, through a door. But the symbol of it all meant everything to her, and it was very little financial value.
So that just brought to mind, there is this amazing artwork. So my family is actually Italian, and their village is about 3 hours away from here.
Sure.
So I went there, and I went to go see the village, and there was a sculpture of this man from this village that's actually really famous in the United States. His name is Father Kino. And an artist asked people, hey, if Father Kino was standing in front of you, what would you give him? And one guy said, I'd give him the key to my home, because that's how much he means to me and in my life. And this sculptor ended up making a whole thing where a whole bunch of people donated the keys to their actual homes, and he made a sculpture, and it's a bust of Father Kino made completely out of keys.
That's dope. That's really dope. And the symbol of it all is what matters. It's not just a bust. It's not just a sculpture. It's not just a story. It's what you said a second ago is the idea that if I give you the key to my home, I'm now expressing complete trust, security, and connection with you. And if you have the key to my house, I better be able to have a degree of an intimate connection with you, because if I don't, then I'm not safe. So I'm also expressing that I'm safe with you too. That in itself is priceless, and it conveys way more than words ever could, because you're demonstrating it effectively. It's not about how much you spent on it or the time necessarily dedicated to the show or the gesture in the moment. It's the dedication to every second of thought beforehand. That in itself is it's really cool. And I wish I had a bus like that in my house. One of the cool things is recognizing that it's a skill to be built, but it's definitely something to be maintained over time. So many people give awesome gifts one time, and they give awesome gifts because of a specific occasion, or when I'm first meeting someone, we start dating. That first birthday or that first Valentine's Day is usually I'm going way, way out to show this person that I like them, and which is cool. It's cool that you like them, but recognize that if you're going to do all these things and give a gift effectively, set the standard for something you're going to be able to do over time. Because over time, that commitment and that investment that you're demonstrating with an effective gift needs to be maintained, or the person you're giving gifts to will recognize it, and the love may start to wane a little bit if you don't represent it effectively with those gifts.
And I think a good thing that I've learned from being in Italy about gift giving is now I'm so far away from my family that every once in a while I'll see something, I'm like, oh, this person will really like it. And before I'd just be like, oh, I'll just give it to that person. But now I kind of store up a few things. I'm like, that means so much more to get a few little things instead of little things at a time.
Sure.
So another one with my dad is he loves baseball, and he used to collect baseball cards all the time. And recently they start remaking baseball cards in the 1973 style of baseball cards, and that was the year he was collecting a lot of his baseball cards.
Okay.
So I just found that box, and I, saved it, and then got some other little things for him, sent him a box from Italy, and that was, like, his favorite thing.
So what you're showing there is being thoughtful. Like what you're showing, a comedian a long time ago I was listening to when I was a teenager, he said about his friendships. He was like, I realized all my friends, when they travel the world doing stand-up shows, like in the country and out of the country, they always bring me stuff back, and it's like, it's really cool. But I never get them anything. And he realized he's at the core of this. All I'm telling my comedian friends is that when I leave your presence, I don't even think of you. You don't even cross my mind. I like you. I love you. You are my friend, and I feel close to you when you're here. But when you're not even here, I didn't even think of you once, and I haven't seen you 3 months from today. Like, that is in many ways the opposite of what you're trying to convey when you actually care about somebody. What you're saying is, like, I care about these people so much, and you're demonstrating that with thoughtfulness over time and when they're not there. And doing so by giving them something that's a part of you that you didn't have to give. I think so. When I think about being thoughtful, I think of, like, in I won't say the year again, because I realized that it's not helpful. And then my wife is going to start to go, timelines, I know who that was. But my ex, she gave me tickets to see U2 one year, like the summer after, not too long after my master's program. And it was to me, a huge gesture. It was a surprise. I love the band U2. I'm from DC. Not a lot of kids where I'm from like U2. And for her to know that required her to be listening, to know some of my interests, my wants, my needs, and the things that make me get excited. And that was U2, and she'd been keeping track of it over time, which again showed thoughtfulness. And in her doing so over time was like, wow, she's been listening for a year. Like, this is actually really cool. So it was a surprise trip to New York, surprise trip to Madison Square Garden, and we go see the band. And also, while we're there, Bruce Springsteen comes out randomly. I had no idea he was going to be there. He was there for another show, and he goes, do you want Boss Time to come out? And people went crazy, and they came out and did a duet to end the show. It was like one of the coolest birthdays I've ever had. That was year one. So I was excited with this relationship. Towards the last birthday before we broke up, my birthday gift was it was a Mike Tyson sweater and a pair of boxers. The Mike Tyson sweater said Merry Christmas on the sweater, and the boxers just said all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth, or something like that. It was something silly, right? Mm-hmm. I thought it was a thoughtful gift until one day, thoughtful-ish. It was like, I don't really wear sweaters. Well, kind of not the right guy for this gift, but I'll take it. I do wear underwear, so like I'll take underwear. One day she had her MacBook open, and I saw her Amazon pop open, and the tab that she was closing said, interesting gifts for men. And the gifts that she bought me were like 3 down from the top. So it showed in that moment, she didn't even have to say anything. I was like, you legitimately just got my gift last minute from Amazon, and it was just a random list of things that guys like. Not even like specific to me. And that was to me the stark difference between where our relationship started and where it ended up. And it demonstrated over time, for me at least later on in hindsight, that we weren't where we were hoping to be, and we probably needed to end. But I do owe her some credit that my response to the underwear and the sweater that said Merry Christmas wasn't the best. And that's our kind of where we're going to head next, is the idea of gift receiving and how to do that with grace.
So what do you have for me on receiving gifts?
So receiving gifts can be difficult too. It's a skill in itself to do so well. So it's easy to receive a gift that was like perfect and it's exactly what you wanted, or maybe exactly what you didn't know you wanted. But then what do you do after? Like, I received a really, really awesome gift. Like, does it end there, or does it extend, and does it impact my relationship, how I interact with that gift going forward? So the very first step in receiving a gift is recognizing that if someone went out their way to get a gift, no matter how big or small, no matter how you feel about them personally, because you can receive a gift from someone you don't like, and that's in itself fine. But recognize that if they're giving it to you for free, It's something they did when they didn't have to. Now, you can make arguments whether it was thoughtful or not, or good or not, or appropriate or not, or etc. But they did something that they didn't have to do, and they did it for you, in theory, unless they regifted something that just like happened to be there, like a sweater or a flannel shirt.
The candle. That's always the candle that goes around every Christmas. But so I was just thinking, and it was a really big meme for a while. But the kid, it's an avocado, thanks. Or his parents tell him, okay, when you receive a gift, you just have to like say thank you and act excited. So he's just like, it's an avocado.
Which is cute with a kid, but if your significant other does so, it can be harmful because you're expressing a feeling that's not there. You're feigning this desire or this happiness for a gift that's like not necessarily like clearly there. And if they ever find out that you don't feel that way, that could be a problem. I think so. There are times where you can receive a really, really good gift that you may feel positively about to begin with. I talked to my wife about this yesterday, about the idea of a gift that I got before in the past. Like I got a cashmere sweater. I don't wear cashmere. I like cashmere. It looks cool. I wouldn't buy it personally for myself, but if someone got it for me, I know cashmere is not cheap, and I appreciate it. But we talked about the idea of like, well, what if the sweater was itchy? Or what if it caused you like to break out in hives? Like it's a sweater that you really like, and maybe let's say your significant other got it for you, and it's a cool gift. It's a thoughtful gift because like they know you like dress clothes or nicer cut items, etc. But then the aftermath of that, knowing that if I receive this really cool gift that this person who cares about me spent time, money, and effort on, afterwards, if they don't see me wearing it, that could pose a problem. If they don't see me outwardly, explicitly showing appreciation, it could be a problem. And then if I don't communicate, if I just say, happy to have this gift, it's awesome, hooray for my avocado, I'm going to put myself in a situation where they're going to see me as being dishonest, or I might hurt their feelings by mistake, by not wearing or showing appreciation to the gift. So the communication is really, really effective and helpful, but more so a necessity in this context. And we're moving the conversation more so to the ways in which you do that, and how do you appreciate that you actually care about the gift that was given to you when you didn't have to have it. And you start by doing so directly and with genuine respect for the gift. So when you think of the opposite of this, think of Michael on The Office, Michael Scott receiving Phyllis's oven mitt. Did he throw it on the ground?
I think that's what he was like, oh, I don't like this anymore. Let's do the Yankee swab, white elephant, whatever you want to call it.
And it was one of those things where it was the epitome of what we're talking about, where I don't love oven mitts. Like, it wouldn't have been the most exciting gift for me to get either, but she spent time knitting it, decorating it for him. It looked really awful, to be honest, but like, the appreciation doesn't necessarily have to be for the price value of the gift or like what the item even is. It could just be the fact that like, I appreciate you taking the time to work on this thing that you didn't have to. You gave me a piece of your life. We have finite time on this earth, and you gave me 20 minutes of your time on this planet. Thank you for that. I'm going to take it and show appreciation to you directly, and then be honest about it too. Like, hey, I don't really cook. I don't really have a need for oven mitts, but I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to keep it, and actually demonstrate a positive emotion to it. And
I think we see in Michael Scott a growth by the time he leaves the show and Phyllis makes him the mittens that are unfinished, and you can actually see him carrying around unfinished mittens.
Yes, he cradled those mittens like they were a baby. Like, he gave it the respect it deserves, and it meant something to her, and it meant something to him really too, because he knew, and if I remember correctly, she didn't know that was the last time she was going to be seeing him, and he knew that was the ending of their relationship because he was moving to Colorado, and he did demonstrate growth, but more than anything, he left that relationship knowing that her effort and her stake in his life meant something. It was valuable to him, and he actually showed it to her aggressively. And he did the thing that basically I'm encouraging everyone to avoid, is regifting gifts in this context specifically from your spouse. every person on this planet has probably known someone, if not have been the person, to either get a re-gift or to re-gift an item. And what kind of message do you think you're showing to a person when you are now handing out a gift that they spent time and dedication for you? Mm-hmm. It's a very, very awkward place to be.
Yes, and I feel like receiving gifts is like an art form in itself.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was one Christmas that my brother had gotten me for like our family secret Santa. And he had gotten me this board game. He loves board games. Every time he comes, the whole family's playing board games. And this was one that we had already owned. We had already tried to play it, and it just was not great. And I made the mistake of going up to him after the exchange was over, and I said, "Hey, can you return this?
Oh, no.
We already have this game, and it wasn't a lot of fun." He's like, "Well, I just really thought you would like." I was like, "I probably would have if I hadn't already tried to play the game, and it was not fun."
You said this the same day?
It was like the next day after, like, it was like Christmas Day we opened it, and the next day, and he was like really hurt, and I was like, "Here I am, I'm just, hey, I don't want you to waste extra money on me."
You're thinking practically.
Yep.
Yeah.
We already have it. And now, to this day, there is, in my family game chest, 2 of that board game sitting because he never wanted to return it. So, I still have the game.
And that's one of those things why communication is so important, because you didn't mean any harm. The timing could have been a little better, but you didn't mean any harm. You were thinking very practically. And my ex, she gave me, the same one earlier with the U2 tickets. She gave me a basketball one year. She knew already had 3 basketballs before, but she gave me a 4th, which I had some feelings about, but I didn't share those feelings. I pretended that I was excited, like, yay, basketball, even though I had several. I didn't need another one, and she knew I had several, and I only am one person. I can't play with all 4 of them. And she got it for me, and it seemed to be not thoughtful. My true feeling is you didn't even think about me. You bought me a basketball when I have 3 basketballs. But I didn't share that. I pretended to be excited, and she knew how I felt eventually when I would go to the basketball court frequently, and her ball would be left at the house. And I didn't mean any harm. I truly wasn't being passive aggressive. It's just like I liked the balls that I had, and she didn't necessarily connect with that because I didn't do my job in being open and honest in my communication. So it truly small moments like these gift giving moments can turn into really big problems where years later there's a double duality of a board game sitting on a shelf stuck in a moment in time based on a question that you asked, and in the context, if I remember correctly, was, "Can we return this item, please?"
Yes.
Which is cool because like it shows that we're all human, man, and we're trying, and that kind of like brings us to our last point. Really, is like if you are going to reinforce both gift giving and receiving, you have to do so by appreciating the mutual effort. The person who's going out of their way to offer the gift, but then the person who is demonstrating effectively strong etiquette in receiving it. And if you were to do that, what you're doing and indicating, at least in the moment by action, is joint investment. Joint commitment to what we're doing here, which is what every relationship is. It's just a very, very like over the table agreement that we're going to be cool with each other for extended periods of time. That's all it is. And if you can do that, you can step from there to a place of reinforcing the spark within your relationship. And people talk about sparks all the time. Like, we shift in this area depending on how good or bad the relationship feels like it's going. But if both people are committed to working this hard, there's no way for that spark not to be lit very bright.
Yes.
That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So, this is a silly aside, but the coolest gift I've gotten in the past year is not expensive at all. It's actually really, really financially not so much of a burden. My wife, when she was in Osan, she came in Korea. She came back to visit me for preparing for a surgery. I didn't know she was going to get a gift. I didn't know she cared about thinking about getting me a gift while she was on her way. I thought her coming to see me was enough. I was like, just get on a plane, get your butt here. And I was happy. When she got here, we lost her luggage was lost, and she was really sad. And I was like, well, why is she so sad? Like, we're gonna find your luggage. The airline, like, they have it. It's here. We know. We have tags. Like, it's here. She was like near tears, and I was like, this is kind of an overreaction. Like, it's just luggage. And then when we found their luggage, like a day later, within the airport, they found it and they called us, and we had them deliver it. And she immediately opens it up and she flips the giant suitcase open, and there are maybe 30 packs of Reese's peanut butter cups and wrapped up, saran wrapped slices of Pizza Hut pizza. Like, for me specifically, because she knows I like Reese's and she knows that I like Pizza Hut specifically. I prefer Pizza Hut over anything else on planet Earth, including gourmet pizza within Italy and Germany. But that in itself, it struck me as why she was so emotional. It's because she put all that work into bringing me a gift that maybe cost her about $35, but it meant everything to me. It meant the world to know that she cared enough to do that for me, and it also increased the likelihood that I would definitely move closer towards raising my blood sugar, because I ate all of that candy in the span of like a week and a half.
Just getting sure enough. You just said I showed up. Boy, respect your elder. I'm a fucking